right, folks, we're here talking Detroit Lions news and rumors for you all today. This is my second video today, first one for the Detroit Lions, and we're going to be talking about a trade rumor that popped up between the Detroit Lions and the New York Giants. We will get into that one. Pete Prisco has 8 Detroit Lions in his top 100. That is a good thing. A coach that potentially that's on the Lions coaching staff, potentially could be a head coach going forward. There is another individual that is, put in that category. And that's what we're going to get into for today's video. But before we get into this bad boy, if you can hit that like button, that would be great. Again, I'm dealing with a back issue. I do apologize. The graphics are somewhat of butt cheeks, but that's okay. Let's get into the first Lions news here. And I'm not going to have myself on here. It's easier for me to stand up. But this is Pete Prisco here talking about his top 100 players, and he has Detroit Lions. He has 8 of them that are currently in the top 100. Aiden Hutchinson, valued very high, coming in at 47. Penei Sewell at 21. Loves what he's doing there. Jahmyr Gibbs at 32, followed by St. Brown at 58. Safety Kirby Joseph at 60. Safety Brian Branch at 65. Jared Goff at 77, and tight end Sam Laporta at 86. I think this is a perfectly done top 100. But actually, Pete Prisco is not the biggest Lions fan. You know me, I'm always getting on him the past couple of years. He's always been boo-boo on the Detroit Lions, so I've been always giving him a lot of grief. But I got to say here, I like this list here. Now, you can say where the players are on specific spots. That's debatable, right, where you want to play it. But I do agree with these 8 players, top 100. It just think about that. There's 32 teams in the National Football League, folks. The Lions have 8 players in the top 100 of Pete Prisco. They're doing, that's pretty good. That's pretty good percentile of players in the top 100. How many players do you have the Detroit Lions having in the top 100? In the comment section, just let me know. If you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, I don't care. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Let's go ahead and continue on, and we're going to talk about the next subject here, and that is an article that was done by Heavy.com, and Eric Woodyard, Lions beat writer for ESPN, said that he named Scotty Montgomery as a possible new head coach candidate. Says Detroit's coaching staff has been gutted since last season, and Montgomery is making a switch from coaching running backs to wide receivers, Woodyard noted. He said he had the ultimate goal to become the NFL head coach, and he has put in a lot of work. For the past 2 seasons, Montgomery's leadership has played a key role in turning the Lions' ground attack into one of the most prolific in league history, with running backs Jahmyr Gibbs and David Montgomery becoming the first duo to each rush for at least 10 touchdowns in consecutive 2023 and 2024. He added that there's no small feat. He's able to continue in his production with wide receivers, certainly would be in the next level for the coaching cycle as a name to watch. Now, I think that would be potentially, it would be hard for him to go from that, I think, to head coach, but maybe to OC, leaving to another team as an offensive coordinator, and then potentially him becoming a head coach after that. Look, the Lions got a lot of quality coaches. This is what happens when you get individuals like Dan Campbell and Brad Holmes, and they want to change a culture. And so what did they do? They predominantly get coaches who were former players. That's what they did here, right? And so these former players coming in, changing the culture. And now you're seeing other NFL teams hiring former coaches. It's becoming more of a thing now because they've seen the success of the Detroit Lions, and you're having the Dan Campbell coaching tree. Now, we got to put a pause in this, right? This is going to be the first, real year we get to look at the Dan Campbell coaching tree. You have Aaron Glenn going to the New York Jets. We're going to see how the Jets do. Obviously, you got Ben Johnson to the Chicago Bears. If these guys do great, you're going to see more teams looking at Detroit as the place to find coaches, to a place to find talent evaluators that can get the best out of the players when they draft them. These guys get the best out of them. Sometimes you have players who come into the National Football League from college, and that is the height of their success. They don't grow. They don't get better. Their work ethic doesn't work. For whatever reason, they don't grow. The average year a player in the NFL is 3. So when you have coaches that can get the best out of your talent, we're talking about first-round picks to undrafted, and to veterans, to rookies, all around who can find talent, that's going to be something that teams are going to be looking forward to. So, seeing the success of what happens to our former coordinators is going to be quite indicating what happens in the future for the Lions coaches. And I think they have I think the Lions coaches will continue to get picked off because of the success, because of the change of environment, because the way that Dan Campbell and company got this thing going. Sorry about that. Again, I'm standing up here. So that's the way that I see it right there. Do you think that more Lions coaches are going to get poached as the years go on? I do believe so. I think the Lions are going to have a successful coaching tree. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Let's get to the next article here, and this one talks about nearly hiring Brad Holmes 20 years ago. He went to the Rams instead of the Lions. Man, could you imagine having Brad Holmes here 20 years ago? Now, I wouldn't have been in a general manager role, but maybe we would have had him earlier as a general manager, or he never would have adapted, right? He could have been fired with all the coaching staff or whatever. So, but that's an interesting story that we were interested in him. All I got to say is Sheila Ford Hamp. You saved us, right? You hired the right guys, plural. Remember, Sheila hired Dan Campbell too. She hired Brad Holmes. Brad Holmes didn't hire Dan Campbell. Dan Campbell was hired before Brad Holmes. These guys never knew each other, and they end up being a great duo, being the best friends. And sometimes it just works like that. It's crazy. You have two people that have never met each other ever, and they work great together. And then you have Patricia and Bob Quinn that were all cool, and it was a disaster. It's just funny how things work out on that. Let's get to the next article here. Trade proposal, and this one is intriguing here. Talks about a trade proposal. On the Bleacher towards Bad Gagning, talks about the Lions fans. The team doesn't have enough, and that's why they predicts the Lions will trade for the New York Giants edge rusher Kayvon Thibodeax at the deadline. If Thibodeax is made available, we are going to be looking at Washington, Green Bay, and Detroit, Gagnon wrote. In this case, Thibodeax is a consolation prize because he's not close to an established as Hendrickson. The Lions have more money to spend than the Commanders and may feel they need to outbid there to keep up with Jones's is in the NFC North, he added. Now, this is an interesting trade, and I know that this is different because Kayvon Thibodeax is still on his rookie deal, the fifth-year option and stuff like that, right? So when you're looking at a trade, how could that work with the Lions? Well, it could be a trade if I'm saying like before the trade deadline, if they wanted to go this route or sooner. We're doing the what ifs here. This is not if they're gonna, what I think. This is the what if. They, financially, they could get it done 100%. They could get it done. It'd be a 1-year deal though, 1-year rental. Remember, Brad Holmes has talked about having two big edges on the side. He doesn't have the money for it. Maybe if Thibodeax were to take less, I don't think that would be the case. That's the problem. It's not anything else but the money. The compensation, I don't even think it would be much to get a Thibodeax, right? Remember, he's probably not going to get re-signed back with the Giants, and they can just go ahead and get a compensatory draft pick if he leaves in free agency, whatever that's going to be due to his contract. But the Lions, they could trade. It's not going to cost much in draft capital, 5th round or something like that, but I don't believe they're going to do so. I don't believe it's because of the money. It's always going to be because of the money. That's why that we didn't get Hendrickson. That's why we couldn't get Myles Garrett. Well, and plus they just couldn't get the trade off, right? But it's the money, and Brad Holmes has been saying this countless and countless and countless times. And we got to take his word for it. He's not bluffing. Dan Campbell doesn't bluff. These guys are literally tell you what they're going to do and what they're not going to do. In this case, the financial ramification. Thibodeax would be great. I got to keep it a buck. I would love for Thibodeax to be on this team. And I don't think he's a Dan Campbell type of guy, by the way. Just an FYI. I think he's an individual that probably would not like this type of, I don't think that the Lions would have him in this culture. It just kind of seems like he's more the diva type, so I don't see that. But wouldn't it be cool to have another guy on there? I think that's just all Lions fans want the edge. We want the edge. Do you want the edge? Let me know in the comments. I do. One more. It's not because of anything else. I don't trust Marcus Davenport. I trust Brad Holmes. I trust Dan Campbell. I don't trust Marcus Davenport's body. Look at me. I have to stand up making a video. When you get injured, it keeps amounting. It's not like it just goes away. So, we all hope he can come in there and fill in. But if he gets injured, we're in a world of hurt. And if something like that to happen, you do have the NFL trade deadline. That's probably what it would be, right? If the Lions were, say, Marcus Davenport, goes down in week 3, right? And he's done for the year. Same repeated. Well, then the Lions, depending on what their record is, they can look and make a trade. Same with the Giants via NFL trade deadline. If the Giants are absolute cheeks and the Lions are up there, got a ton of wins, that's usually how it works. NFL trade deadline is a good team generally. Bad team gets rid of some. Good team acquires it. That's how it works. But they're not in a rush to do anything. I don't see them in a rush at all doing anything like this. I don't see it at all. We even signed Zadarius Smith, and he wants to be back. So I just don't think this will happen. I don't believe so. But, it's something that we all think about, right, is getting another player on this defensive line. And, this is what the offseason's about. And is just talking and trying to get through these days, because as we get closer to training camp, we have legit news to talk about. And I can't wait. I don't know about you. I can't wait for our training camp. I can't wait for the start. I usually love the off season to take a break. My break is I'm ready to get back on the train here and getting the stuff going. So training camp will have the news. But we're going to keep you updated regardless what's going on. So make sure you subscribe to the channel. With that said, folks, adios.